Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. I predicted the other day that when Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater said they were going to have a counter-protest at the coronation, rather than going to see it, because they had been invited but declined, and I don't suppose anyone noticed, I suggested that they would be outnumbered, and indeed they were, humiliatingly so. Very, very few people turned up to this sort of Green/SNP/Republican rally. Far more turned up to watch King Charles and Queen Camilla, get crowned again, which is weird, but this time with the Scottish crown jewels. And I know, it's like exactly as I predicted. They were humiliated by the differences in the crowd. They thought they'd pull out and there'd be loads of people there swamping and so many people agreeing to their cause. But of course, they're Greens and not many people sort of even pay attention or even know who they are. Some people say, of course, that Patrick Harvey is very small. I maintain he is small, but it's also the fact that he's very, very far away from reality. Anyway, we'll take a look at this piece, see what's going on, see the numbers, and see why, again, the SNP Green alliance is so embarrassing and constantly humiliating itself. Here goes. So, humiliation for Greens and Republicans as crowds to see King Charles in Edinburgh dwarf the puny protest. Although, if you read it in Pravda, aka The National, there would have been millions there for this rally and very few people there to see the King. But that tells you all you need to know about The National, doesn't it? Which we won't be bothering with. Anyway, Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater's anti-monarchy protests turned out to be a damp squib, as crowds flocked to the Royal Mile for a glimpse of the King and the Queen. And the Red Arrows, of course. Patrick Harvey, and the thing was, a slight aside, they actually had a very nice day for it. They had a nicer day in terms of sunshine and heat for the Scottish coronation than they did indeed for the London coronation, which was rather overcast and we didn't get the full sort of flyby with the planes. So I don't know who arranged the sunshine, but well done to them. Anyway, Patrick Harvey was left having to concede that there is public support for the monarchy in Scotland after a Republican protest in Edinburgh on Wednesday was a damp squib. There's always going to be, this despite the very loud but very small number of Republicans, there is always going to be support for the monarchy. After they are, after all, a Scottish family when you consider Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, the Queen's mother, was Scottish herself. And of course Anne has very, very strong affiliations for Scotland. She was wing 3/4 for the national team at one point, I think. Anyway, it coincided with King Charles III being presented with the honours to Scotland in a ceremony at St Giles Cathedral, which has been dubbed as his Scottish coronation. But predictably, the Republican group was dwarfed by the crowds who lined the street to catch a glimpse of Charles and Queen Camilla, some of whom had travelled as far as New Zealand. I don't suppose they came just for that. They just happened to be there from New Zealand. It's a long way to come just to see it. But hey-ho, who knows? Footage from the day shows just a few dozen protesters had bothered to attend the event, and 3 men walking up and down the street early in the day with placards saying "Not my king." And it doesn't matter what you write on the placards, I'm afraid to say. He is your king, whether you like it or not. You can't just change the facts, and reality isn't something that lives in your mind. The Scottish Greens have insisted Scotland should ditch the monarchy if it leaves the UK, but it faced criticism for their actions. The great thing is that nobody really pays attention to the Greens because they are so few in number. They're only list MPs because they can't get a constituency. Nobody votes for them because they're all mental. Former Labour MP Tom Harris branded them petty, vicious and self-obsessed, adding, "The irony is that for his entire life and for many, many years before such views were fashionable, the King has been an energetic champion of our environment, frequently mocked by detractors for his apparent obsession with preserving the countryside and our wildlife and promoting ecological safeguards. Compared that to the lifetime of achievement and influence, what have Mr. Harvey and Ms. Slater actually accomplished? Sod all. They've done nothing. Well, they have. They've ridiculed themselves. They've humiliated themselves. They should have based themselves on the floor of the cathedral and begged Charles for forgiveness for being complete and utter dicks. Anyway, Glasgow MSP Harvey admitted the public still retains affection for the royals, but could not resist a dig, calling the ceremony a Game of Thrones style cosplay exercise. What the hell is the Scottish Parliament if it's not a cosplay exercise? It's children playing grown-up games, isn't it? Especially when you look at the children of the Green Party. He also moaned about the disruption in central Edinburgh, saying, "I recognise there is going to be disruption when there is a major event on." And yet, strangely, he didn't moan when the Pride Parade came down. How very weird. Anyway, he said, "Let's think about how a modern democratic head of state would go about their business in Scotland. It wouldn't have this level of pomp and ceremony and rigmarole." And why not? Why not? Give the people what they want. Bit of fun. Bit of pomp is all right, isn't it? Just because he is a miserable... The thing is, you see, you've got to remember that the Greens are very, very miserable people because they are perpetual losers. They've never known joy. Everything they do is anti-fun. They're always on the losing side. They can never achieve anything. Everything they ever try fails. Their whole life is one series of failure, 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 failure. So they've got no joy. They don't understand what happiness actually is. We do, though. We watch them fail and we take great joy from it. Royal fans arrived early on the Royal Mile ahead of the ceremony on Wednesday. Among them was Margaret Jenkins, 62, from East Lothian, who had a message for the protesters. She said, "I'm excited to see King Charles, my king, and I know not everyone would agree." Also among the crowds were the sisters Julia Avery from Birmingham, Karen Short is 54 from Pennycook in Midlothian, and Linda Halfpenny from New Zealand. Miss Halfpenny has lived in New Zealand for 42 years and is in Britain to see her two sisters. I said at the beginning she wasn't there to see the coronation. It just coincided. Chris McCloskey, blah, blah, blah. Let's just go through people who are saying it was very excited and it was wonderful to see the king. But everyone who turned up to watch it, virtually 99%, were there to see the proceedings, the pomp, the circumstances, the marching bands. They weren't there to see the likes of the toxic, poisonous little dwarf Patrick Harvey and the lanky Canadian horse Lorna Slater. They just weren't there for them, and very few turned up. Very embarrassing. We're going to hold a rally and there was 12 people. Bless. Not so much a rally, is it? More a football team. Anyway, that's a round off. Come up. It is always deeply satisfying and warms the cockles of your heart when you see people who are generally on the extremes of politics with their madcap ideas and their policies of failure fail again. He sits there, we'll have this big rally, and then like a dozen people turn up. They must feel embarrassed. They must sit there and go, God, have we got it wrong again? But you see, in their minds, they're always right. They're the virtuous ones. Yes, look at all those tens of thousands of people getting it wrong, while the 12 of us are right. What an arse. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see and hear on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, the Greens are mad. Bye.